Shouting out my self-esteem seekers and political policy war hawks, get ready for this roller coaster ride. We're unlocking the secrets to loving yourself, flaws and all, dissecting why minimum wage just got more minimum under President Trump, and I'm confessing some of my guilty pleasures. We're gonna get into it. Let's get it! Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our video podcasts and YouTube exclusive content. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'm talking self-esteem, the minimum wage, and guilty pleasures. But that's enough of this intro. Let's get to the show. I had a good friend of mine I met up with, or I talked on the phone with this person not too long ago, and I'm going to try to use gender non-specifics so that I don't identify this person, but if I slip up, I apologize. But I'm not going to say their name. But I was talking to them about their dating life and the current person that they, got a situationship with. It's not a good person, or they're not a bad person, just not a good person for them. And I asked this person, why would you continue on dating this other person? Like, they don't have a path forward for a career. Not that they don't have something going on now, which they don't, but they don't even have a plan for what they want to do in the future, right? This person doesn't like to go out on dates. And it's like, well, I thought you seem like you would like dates. So if the person that you're with doesn't want to go out on dates, that's kind of a problem. The person is wishy-washy about committing. And so I told my friend, I was like, I don't know. It kind of seems like you're dating down. And my friend said, yeah, I have to admit, I don't have the greatest self-esteem. And for me, I couldn't understand it because this person is intelligent. It's a beautiful person inside and outside, warm, friendly. And I told my friend, I said, hey, look, I could give you all the compliments in the world, but self-esteem is self-esteem. I can't build it up inside of you, and nor should you want me to, because then your self-esteem is wrapped up in me building it up for you. You have to do it yourself. And my friend was like, I don't even know how to do it. So I gave my friend a few suggestions, which I'm going to get into later. But some people out here that are listening and watching this podcast might feel the same way as my friend. Hell, we've all gone through it where we have low self-esteem given a certain situation. Outside factors, inside factors, things are happening in your life that knocks your confidence down and in you as a person. It happens to all of us. There's nobody out there that has the highest self-esteem all the time. It's not true. There's a lot of people out there that's faking the funk, that act like they have a high self-esteem all the time, but those tend to be the most insecure, low esteem people that are out there, right? Like, don't fake the funk, be real with yourself and say, hey, I kind of want to fix this issue. But first, what is self-esteem? So of course, I went into my researcher hat, did a little research, and the actual definition of self-esteem is, and this is the core concept of self-esteem. Self-esteem reflects how individuals value and perceive themselves. It's rooted in personal opinions and beliefs. It shapes our self-worth, motivation, mental well-being, and life quality. Just think about that. Think of how important your self-esteem is. Your self-worth, your motivation, your mental well-being, and your life quality. If you don't have high self-esteem, it's pretty tough to get up in the morning and go to work and take care of your responsibilities. It's pretty tough to get up in the morning and raise them kids if your self-esteem is low. Do you have the motivation to do those things? Do you have the mental well-being to take care of other people if you have a low self-esteem of yourself? And your life quality is probably bad. I'll get into how low self-esteem affects us mentally and physically later. But just thinking of that concept, your self-esteem is crucial to you as a person. So I told my friend, I said, hey, this is something that you have to build within yourself. And I'm not a doctor, but there are some ways in which you can build your self esteem. Most importantly, it's about rebuilding confidence in yourself, your identity, your sense of belonging, and your self assuredness. These are the ways in which that you can build up your self esteem. And one of the ways that you can build up your self esteem, because it's linked to mental health, right? It might not be diagnosed as a mental health illness, but it damn sure leads to mental health illnesses. You ever heard of depression? Yeah. You think people out there that suffer through depression got a high self esteem of themselves in that particular moment? Because self esteem is ever flowing. It's like a river, right? It's continuously moving, it's continuously changing, depending on, once again, I said outside and inside factors. But I told my friend, you got to do mindset shifts. And what I said, now actually get into what research told me to tell my friend that, I'd already told my friend, so it was pointless. But the research, I'm giving y'all the research. But what I told my friend was write down these things. You have low self-esteem in your looks. Write down you are a beautiful person. Write down you are fit, because these things are absolutely true. Write down that you're intelligent. Write down that you are a hard worker. Write down that you are a good person. Write down all these good qualities about yourself. I said, write them down. Put them on your mirror, your bathroom mirror. So it's the first thing that you see in the morning. And I also gave my friend this advice. Do not touch your cell phone for the first 15 minutes of the day. Don't touch it. It immediately throws you into a frenzy. There's been many studies that have documented and proven this. If you just don't touch your cell phone for the first 15 minutes and just get into the day, deep breaths. If you can do meditation, great. I can't, because I can't focus that well. Deep breaths, I sit at the edge of the bed and I just take deep breaths. I take 5 really deep breaths. I bring the air in and I blow it out through my mouth. Now, it's a problem in the morning because my breath is funky as hell, because, I can't breathe through my nose. So I'm a mouth breather, and you mouth breathing all night long, which means your mouth is dry, which means you got funky breath. So I'm breathing in through my nose, blowing out through my mouth. Yeah, I'm not being thrown into a frenzy because of my cell phone, but I am absolutely being thrown into a frenzy because of my funky ass breath. But that's neither here nor there. I take these deep breaths to kind of center myself, right? And then I lift myself up off the bed, I walk into the bathroom, then I start brushing my teeth, right? And I brush teeth, ladies and gentlemen. That's important when you brush your teeth in the morning, to actually brush your teeth, brush your tongue too. That'll help get rid of that morning breath funk. Mouthwash is important, antiseptic, help fight cavities and plaque, gingivitis, and all that things. Wash my face. If I have to use the restroom, use the restroom. Still don't go to my phone. Go to the kitchen. I do my little morning juice. My morning juice is apple cider vinegar, seltzer water, some water mixed in with the seltzer water so it's not too carbonated, and liquid enhancer for caffeine, because I don't drink coffee. And then I come to my desk and I sit down. I take a couple of more deep breaths, right? I drink a little bit, and then I go to my phone, because that's about 15 to 20 minutes. Didn't touch it. But I told my friend, put those mantras on the mirror so that when you get up, don't touch your phone, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and say the mantras out loud. Because I was talking to my sister, and she made a very good point that a lot of time the negative thoughts in our head aren't in our voice. It's from the voices of people who said these things to us or hinted at these things to us that made us feel this particular way. It's never really in our voice. And if it is in your voice, by repeating the opposite, in other words, in your voice, in your head, the reason why you have low self-esteem is because you're speaking negatively about yourself, right? It's either in somebody else's voices or maybe it's in your voice. By speaking these positive mantras out in your voice so that you can hear them, you'll start to believe it. you'll start to live it. Manifesting. These things are actually true. I used to laugh at people that do those vision boards, and I still haven't done it. I have a mental vision board. It's like I set goals of things that I want to accomplish, and I just go out and do it. And mentally, I don't need to see it every day. Like a true vision board, mentally, once I turn that click in my head, it's off and running. Like there's a switch that I could turn. Not everybody could do it. And I don't even have control of the switch half the time. The switch just decides to click when it decides to click. I'll talk about that when I get into my guilty pleasures later, because one of my guilty pleasures I had to cut off. But yeah, I have this switch that I could turn on sometimes. Sometimes it has a turn on itself. Other people need the actual visualization to see it every day for it to register. And when you do these things, when you manifest them, when you say them out loud, you can really manifest good things in your life. You really can. You can create a higher self-esteem of yourself by doing these things. And when I did the research, they agreed with me for more or less. It said practicing self compassion, treating yourself like a friend. You challenge your negative self talk, focus on your strengths and achievements. And that's essentially what I said. Set realistic goals and track progress. Prioritize hobbies, health, like exercise and nutrition, and assertive communication. Like I really dug that because I know for me, when I start to get down on myself is when I don't set friend boundaries or family boundaries or boundaries of just people. Like, look, I don't know what it is about me. Okay. But people like talking to me. I'm not that friendly. I'm not that welcoming. A lot of times I have a scowl on my face. And a lot of times looking like the Black Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know why people feel like I'm approachable. I'm not. I'm 6'4", 240 pounds, 235, 30 pounds, wherever I am at that particular time of the year. Bald head, goatee, tattoos all over my arms. Like I'm not I'm not this big cuddly teddy bear, even though people close to me would say that I am a gentle giant. I mean, I guess I am, but people that just recognize me don't know that. But sometimes people just love to come up and talk to me and have full blown conversations. And I'm not really into small talk. That's not my thing. I'm into in-depth, we're gonna have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Tell me about your life. Because I'm naturally curious or messy, whichever way you want to describe it, but I'm like that. And I've had to learn to put boundaries because I would have conversations with neighbors and then they think they're my friends and want to hang out. And I don't want no new friends. I don't want no new friends. I got enough friends. I got enough friends. I got enough people that if I want to throw a party to myself, I can invite 50 to 75 individual people, not party groups, people that don't know each other to my party, and they'll show up. And okay, great, great. I don't want all those people in my life. I want a solid 5, 6, maybe. That's about it. But if you don't set those boundaries, like I haven't in the past, you'll start to get run down. And part of that affects your mental well-being, which will affect your self-esteem. And you start to get run down and you're just like, you know what? I got to pull away from everybody. And that's not healthy. So when they say assertive communication, I'm taking that as setting boundaries with people. And that could be with anybody. That could be with your family. That could be with your friends. That could be with your coworkers. That could be with your boss, right? You got to celebrate small successes, acknowledge controllable factors, recognize some things are just out of your control. You can't control the fact that there's traffic and that you in it. I got a friend that's going to New York this weekend. They're going with another friend. They do not want to take the mega bus, but the other friend was like, let's take the mega bus. But oh yeah, by the way, we're leaving DC to go to New York. And I got to get my haircut first. My haircut's going to be at 11 a.m., which means that they're not leaving the DC area on the mega bus until noon, 12:31. And I said, wait a minute, you're going to catch New York City traffic doing that. How do I know? Because that happened to me when I went up to New York for my bestie's 40th birthday. I went too late on the megabus. I told y'all about my adventure on the megabus. But I was like, yeah, no, that's crazy. But you can't control that traffic. That's not something you can control. You can control when you leave though, to reduce that stress, boundaries, right? And use positivity lists, written reminders of qualities and skills. These are all ways to help improve your self esteem. But what happens when your self esteem is low? Well, some of the causes could just be like negative childhood experiences, criticism and neglect, bullying, societal and cultural pressures, or physical health issues. All of these could be causes of a low self esteem. And let me tell you something, I feel bad for these kids growing up in this environment right now because social media is a lie and they don't know it's a lie because they haven't lived life yet. And they don't want to listen to the older people because the older people, they'll say to older people, just like when I was younger and I used to tell old people, y'all don't know what it is. Y'all don't know what's going on out here. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I might be 44 years old. I still know what's going on out there in the streets. And I done lived it 2, 3 times. Like I understand what's going on, but young people, they don't want to listen to older people. And I get it because you think you know everything. So they go to social media, and social media, people out here posting the best parts of their life and not being authentic, right? That's not what social media is to be authentic. So these young kids growing up, a- and we've seen it, low self-esteem or esteem wrapped up in how many followers. Back in the day, it used to be how many MySpace friends you had. Just think about that. We used to care about the top 8 friends in our MySpace. We was crazy. We was wilding, but everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to be loved. So, I mean, I get it. This is just a tough era for these kids to grow up in. But the effects of low self-esteem, let's start with the emotional, right? You have persistent negativity, fear of judgment, and perfectionism. Now, I didn't say any of those things right. And and I can have a low self-esteem or the way that I speak. I lean into it. Look, y'all know I got a speech impediment. Y'all know I got a stutter. I even have a lisp that hopefully never comes out. I've done a good job of hiding it through the years, but I got a lisp. Okay. Um, I don't let those things rock me, because I've been dealing with it for 44 years. It just is what it is. I'm going to stumble over my words. I'm going to misspeak. I'm going to say words wrong. It happens. It's not the end of the world, but some of these things can be so detrimental to you, and it's because of low self esteem. You also have behavioral effects of low self esteem, avoidance of new experiences, self harm, or poor self care. I talked about getting up in the morning and brush your teeth. I really, really emphasize that because I feel like there's more people out there waking up in the morning and not immediately brushing their teeth than what I really want to point out. Because I feel like many a times when I was training clients early in the morning or I had early meetings and I had to talk to people, I was like, why is your breath funky right now? It is only 10 o'clock in the morning. I can understand if your breath was a little tart at 2, 3, may and definitely at 5, 6 when you've been doing stuff all day long. But why is it funky at 10 a.m.? But also it leads to, you know, not showering. I know people who have gone through depression and don't shower, don't wash their face, don't take care of themselves. Low self-esteem, which once again they said is not a mental health issue, but can lead to mental health issues like depression. These are signs of people that are having low self-esteem. And then social, right? There are social effects of having low self-esteem. There are strained relationships, low resilience, right? Reduced confidence in personal value. So when I was talking to my friend, I gave him those suggestions, which I give everybody. Look, even if your self-esteem and your confidence is sky high right now, doing these things don't hurt, right? You can always be a better version of who you are. You're not the best version of who you are. There's always a better version. So don't check your cell phone the first 15 minutes of the day. Go brush your teeth and say positive mantras about yourself, right? And when you feel like you have low self esteem, watch out for those negative thoughts. In whose voice do you hear it? Is it yours? Then do positive self talk. Is it not yours? Then guess what? Do positive self talk. Your self-esteem is so important to you as a person. And I want everybody to be out there thriving. There's some people that have a really high self-esteem in themselves and they shouldn't. I'm going to talk about them next. But right now I want to focus in on y'all before I go in on people that have too high of a self-esteem of them and they need to be knocked down a peg or two. For those people, I just wish that I could be the negative thoughts in their head to tell them, hey, you stupid, you should shut the hell up because you don't know what you're talking about. But for those people out there that are listening to this, that aren't feeling good about themselves right now, take those steps, write it down, the positive qualities that you know about yourself, the positive qualities that people close to you say that you may not recognize. Somebody might say, you're a beautiful person. And you're like, I'm not that beautiful. No, you're a beautiful person. The reason why you think you're not a beautiful person is because of negative self-talk. You are. People aren't going to just lie to you, especially if you hear it all the time. People aren't going to lie to you. I had to self-talk, positive self-talk myself because everybody out there that that I run in contact with, they say, Bruce, you're a good person. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Y'all don't know the thoughts that are going on in my head. I'm joking on you as I'm talking on you. But my actions and the way I look out for people and am there for people, they're right. I'm a good person. I just don't like when people call themselves a good person because it seems like they're trying to convince themselves. But also, sometimes you got to convince yourself because you don't believe what other people are telling you. And sometimes you need to. So, for all those people out there that are listening to this and watching this, that have a little bit low self-esteem right now, do those things. And from me to you, you are a beautiful person. You are a good person. You are worthy. You are worthy of success. And more importantly, you're worthy of happiness. People smuggling eggs across the Mexican border, price of steel and lumber going up. We're heading towards a recession. People don't want to talk about that, but that's where we're heading to. The economy is starting to go down the tank because of factors that, there's still factors that we're still dealing with from the COVID and the pandemic. But this new administration is making moves that's making the stock market tank, which is making your retirement tank, right? Which is making the cost of goods go up with these trade wars and these tariffs. I've gone through all that over and over and over again. I'm not going to address those specific things. But see, those specific things aren't really direct, right? Like when the president puts tariffs on goods that will be importing. I mean, yes, there's a trickle-down effect to us. We're going to be paying more, but it's not the president directly putting his hand in your pocket, right? You know what I mean by it's not direct. There's stages before it gets to you or me or the next person. However, he, in his infinite wisdom, I'm saying that sarcastically if y'all couldn't tell by the tone. He in his infinite wisdom has decided to start digging into your pockets. Now, a lot of people won't be affected by this, right? Like a lot of people will not be affected by this. But there's a lot of people that will be affected by this. And it leads to a slippery slope, right? So what am I talking about? President Trump has rescinded Joe Biden's executive order that mandated a $17.75 hour minimum wage for federal contractors. This is going to take effect real soon. This is also another example of Trump trying to roll back everything that Joe Biden did. Everything. So what does this mean? This means that federal contractors will no longer be required to pay $17.75 per hour. Instead, wages will revert to earlier standards, such as the $13.30 per hour for contractors, predating Biden's order, or the federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour. So what does this essentially mean? Look, the government has contracts with private companies. Okay. Prime example, Starlink, right? That's Elon Musk's company. They got a private contract with Starlink. Okay. I mean, the federal government has a contract with a private company, and the private company is Starlink. There's stuff like this all over the country, right? So many private companies have federal contracts. What this what Biden's order basically said was, if you got a federal contract with me, if you're a private company and you got a federal contract with me, you have to pay your employees at the bare minimum $17.75. We're giving you money. We're entering in a contract with you. In order to have this contract, you're going to abide by our federal wage for federal contracted employees. And so Trump has decided, nah, we're going to rescind that. We're going to knock down $4.45 per hour or a whole $10. Now, let's get into the economics of it. $17.75 ain't a lot of money anyway. If you're working a 40-hour week and you're making $20 an hour, then that means you're only making $800 a week. Now, for some, $800 a week ain't bad, right? 8 times 4, that's $3,200 a month before taxes. And you might be like, I'm all right. And if you are a person that only got like, I don't know, $2,000 worth of expenses, okay, I don't know too many people out there that only got $2,000 worth of expenses. Hell, apartments in the area in my building alone, 1 bedrooms go for $2,700 a month. The 1 bedrooms, and they ain't that big, 700 square feet, $2,700 a month, not including utilities, not including cable and the internet. I ain't got no cable, but I got the internet. But y'all know what I mean. So when I say $20 an hour for minimum wage is really not livable, $17.75 was barely. I mean, if you live in certain areas, you live in Podunk, USA, you and your rent is $500 a month, which I don't know where that is, but maybe there's some place out there like that. You can survive. You can make it. But $17.75, that's $2.25 less than the $20 an hour. That's barely livable. And now you're talking about taking it down to 13, and in some cases all the way down to 7. You know how much money $7 an hour is for 40 hours a week? That's 7 times 4. That's $280. $280 ain't enough money to put cheese on a waffle. It's what you gonna do with that? You can't buy an Xbox or PlayStation with that. Hell, you could barely get a carton of eggs with that. And so, who is this helping? Well, there's a lot of people that support this, particularly business groups. Business groups like the Associated Builders and Contractors, they are applauding this rollback, claiming that Biden's rules were costly and unfair in low-cost regions. Okay. I want to address this first. One of the many things that I do as far as trying to raise my economic level, the many jobs that I have, is that I am a business consultant. I will help businesses, one, start their business, right? File the proper paperwork, get the tax ID number, open up a business account, start the website, like start the admin, files the articles of confederate, like all organization, all that stuff, right? And then also strategize what their business is for the year to help them continue to grow. Okay. This is what I tell all business owners. One, do you have your enough personal capital to start your own business? Because once you borrow, you're automatically in the hole, and you better have a damn good idea to get yourself out of that hole. I'm speaking specifically of your business idea. If you can self-fund You're in the driver's seat. I then say, can you do all the work right now by yourself while your company grows? The reason why I say that is because if you can self-fund yourself, you got real good opportunity for success. If you have to self-fund and then pay somebody, well, unless you got jobs and you've got revenue coming in to help with that, you might run into a little bit of trouble. So I say to all business people, some of my first advice is if you can self-fund, great. If you can't, okay. And if you could do it yourself to start off, do that. If you have to hire people, make sure that you have enough money for not only you to live, but for you to cover payroll. And I always tell people when you hire people, it's not always the case, but if you offer a cheap wage, you're going to get cheap work. Most of the time, you offer a cheap wage, you're going to get cheap work. So you better pay attention to what the market for that job is paying and pay accordingly. These are the advice that I give. So for these federal contractors who are builders and contractors doing construction, right? If you can't pay the employees a fair wage, a livable wage, you don't need to be in business. You're not going to have a successful building business. If your business is predicated on essentially, I'm being hyperbolic here, but essentially slave labor, and yes, I understand throwing out that word is going to throw a lot of people off. But when you're giving non-livable wages, yeah, people are still getting wages, but you're essentially, indentured servitude at the very least. So when you're doing these things, you're not going to have successful business if that's what you got to do to be successful. And you know how I know this? Because I did it. I've done it. I didn't know I was paying people unlivable wages, but there have been times where I've had different companies, and when I had the wrestling company, I was paying them a certain amount of money each match, and they agreed to it. I thought that was okay until I found out what the market dictated, and I was like, y'all were grossly underpaid. Why would y'all do that? Well, we believed in thing and we wanted to give work and this and that. And I was like, well, y'all gave me your heart and soul. Let me find a way to try and pay you more money. Guess what? When I tried to find a way to pay him more money, couldn't pay him more money. That's the reason why there's no longer a wrestling company that I'm associated with. It failed because I didn't have the money. It wasn't going to be a successful business. So if your version of being successful in your business is paying your people unfair, unlivable wages, you're not going to be successful. You need to find something else to do. All right. Now, who are the critics? Of course, it's the labor unions and, of course, Democrats. They are arguing it harms workers' economic security and rights. Look, people always want to talk about the economy. And during Biden's run, and then when Kamala Harris took over, they talked about how great the economy was. Everybody kept talking inflation. I've already given how these things are kind of loosely tied, but not directly tied to one another. We did have a good economy, but there was inflation on certain goods. But that just because you have a thriving economy doesn't mean that people aren't out there struggling to survive. I mean, Florida Evans and James Evans was barely keeping their head above water, but they were still having good times. That's what it said. Temporary layoff, good times. But no, it's like, look, if you're going to run a business and run a successful business, you got to pay people correctly. And if you can't pay people correctly, you don't deserve to have a business. And then if you're getting these government contracts to do certain work and you can't pay your people, that's especially bad. Where's that money going? Now, I've never had a federal contract. Okay. I don't know at this point if I ever won a federal contract. I want to talk to people that have worked and done federal contracts. And I have friends that, because I live in DC, federal contracted workers, and there's all different types of rules. They're not government employees, they're loosely associated with it. It's crazy. And if their contract isn't renewed, they got to keep going up for bid. And it's crazy situation. It's a crazy life out here, these federal contracted workers. But if these companies are getting the money from the federal government has every right to say, and this is what you should pay your employees because they're an extension. You are an extension of us. And this man is rolling it back. Meanwhile, trying to give tax credits and tax cuts to the rich. That whole trickle-down Reaganomics theory that the money will trickle down. You know what happened during the pandemic? There grew a wider gap of economic disparity. The rich got richer. The poor got poorer. It does not trickle down. It's a hoarding at top because they're purposely trying to undercut the workforce. They want to pay you as little as they can to get you to come in and do the work so they can have all the money themselves. When we bailed out the banks back in 2008, 2009, and I think 2010 as well, those bank execs took that bailout and gave themselves bonuses. People should have gone to jail. For what crime? I don't know. I got a friend that says we should have found a crime to charge them. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe in that. You just gonna find crimes and stuff? Like, no, there needs to be a crime. But it should have been a crime to get bailed out for stuff that they did, for actions they took, that they knew what was going to happen, collapsed the housing market, and they got bailed out. But all those people, all those ordinary people that lost their homes, what did they get? The system is rigged. It's rigged if you keep allowing the people that are rigging the system to keep winning elections. We got a man that's the right-hand man, or actually the man in power. We don't know. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, crying the blues because he lost a couple of $100 billion because nobody wants his Teslas anymore. So much so that you got the president got a damn car show on the front lawn of the White House to hawk Teslas. Elon Musk lost 120, 140, 160 billion. Guess how much he got? Still 340, 320 billion. Billion. But because he lost a little bit, we got to hawk some Teslas in front of the White House. But at the same time, they want to cut federal contracted employees from $17.75 an hour, which isn't livable, to either $13.30 or $7.25. I haven't made $7.25 an hour since I worked at a certain video store all the way back in 2000. 1999, as a matter of fact. I made more money when I was working at a bookstore back in 2001. And here we are in 2025, where in 2001, you know what I'm saying, a six-pack of Bud Light might have been $4. Might have been $5. I think I would go to the grocery store with a 5 spot, give me a 6-pack of Bud Light, sit up there and play video games. Or I had a dual TV that had a split screen where one screen could be one outlet and the other screen could be another outlet. Now I recreated it just by having 2 TVs, but TV could split and I'd have a movie going on one side and video games going on the other side. It was my 6-pack of Bud Light or Miller Lite, whichever had a sale going on, but it was $4 or $5 back in 2000, 2001. What is it now? 9? Almost double? And what I was getting paid back then, working retail, right? Or what they want federal contracted employees to go back to getting paid less 25 years later? Think of that. Think of it from that standpoint. I made more than $7.25 working at a video store and a bookstore in 2000 than some of these federal contracted employees will make in 2025. And these are grown-ups. I was a kid. I was 20. These are people my age. They got families. And they're talking about lowering it from 17 all the way to 7. Maybe it stops at that 13, but it could go all the way to that 7. And for those contractors that had these deals with the government, these builders and the associated builders and contractors who are praising this, they're not struggling. They got that federal contracted money. But this is all a part of the current administration's purge of everything that Joe Biden did. If he did it, they want to do the opposite. If Joe Biden praised the Lord, they're gonna praise Satan. They're gonna do whatever the opposite was of Joe Biden. And then they're gonna tell you that Joe Biden wasn't actually praising God. He was praising Satan, and that the Satan that they praising is the real Jesus Christ. That's what they're gonna say. That's how they're gonna flip it. And you're gonna see it on Fox News, OAN, and all those conservative media outlets. The same people that said that Elon Musk didn't do a sig high, that Nazi symbol twice, 3 times. He didn't do it though. I mean, hey, look, some people are really starting to wake up because they're starting to be affected. And there's a lot of people that voted for the current administration that are going to be affected by this policy. So good luck. We're not even getting your pay cut in half because you're not making $20 an hour, right? So that $17.75 to $7.25, that $10.50 isn't half. It's more than half. I wonder what Elon Musk would do if 60% of his wealth went away. Instead of the Tesla cars, he probably had them Cybertrucks out there hawking those, or probably hawking spaceships or something like that. Because the rich is going to stay the rich as long as they make the poor stay the poor. You like guilty pleasures? I sure as hell do. I love guilty pleasures, and I got a lot of them. And, for the third segment, I want to bring the mood down a little bit because it was kind of semi-serious or heartfelt in the first segment. And then it was definitely serious in the second segment. But now I want to get a little silly, and I want to let y'all know a little bit more about me and some of my guilty pleasures. And if you're a regular listener or a watcher, somebody that pays attention to this podcast regularly, then you know a little bit of my guilty pleasures because I talk about them often. But I'm going to get a little bit more specific in this segment. But first, let's establish what a guilty pleasure is. A guilty pleasure is something that one enjoys doing even though it may be embarrassing, taboo, or shameful to admit. These pleasures are normal and healthy and can be a form of self-care and relaxation. Indulging in guilty pleasures can help you feel more connected to yourself and others if you're feeling socially isolated. So one of my guilty pleasures that I still have it, and I don't even want to make my sister shouldn't feel bad. We've had this conversation. Me and my sister film on Sundays now. We film the sibling happy hour, the after hours, and the YouTube exclusive videos, which by the way, y'all are missing out on a lot of content because if y'all really, it's like an added sibling happy hour segment that's strictly on YouTube. So if you're listening to the show and you're like, well, I listen to the show, I don't need to watch the show. Y'all are missing some stuff on YouTube. Also on the video portion, I started adding some behind the scenes of stuff that I cut, when that's not supposed to be on air. I had a behind the scenes segment at the end of every video podcast episode. So check those out. But we're filming on Sunday and we're filming 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then at the end of filming, me and my sister are just jibber jabbering for another 30 minutes until Roscoe starts barking or I have to go to the bathroom, just because me and my sister are close. If y'all haven't figured out, me and my siblings are very close. We can get together and just talk for hours. And that's great. I love our relationship that we have right now. However, one of the things that's kind of been cut from my life, one of my guilty pleasures, is my Sunday fun day. Now, I've kind of explained what my Sunday fun day is, but let me give you guys a clear example of what my Sunday fun day is. My Sunday fun day is a reset, and everybody close to me knows. Don't ask Bruce to do anything on Sunday. That's a Sunday fun day. It's a reset for me. to prepare me for the upcoming week. My job, and also this podcast, my jobs, and also this podcast. I'm dealing with people all the time. I'm giving advice, I'm counseling, I'm managing, I'm doing something where or this podcast I'm producing, I'm editing, like I'm always doing something. And it can be, I'm not complaining. I love it for the most part. It can be physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausting. If I don't Sunday Fun Day reset, people gonna catch hell because I'm gonna be agitated. And I'm already got a ball of fire that's burning inside of me every day, all day anyway. So if I don't have this reset, there's a problem. So my Sunday Fun Day has always started with champagne. Actually, it doesn't start with that. So when the weather is nice, the Sunday Fun Day starts with a walk. I normally do an hour-long walk outside to get the fresh air, listen to my gospel music because I don't go to church, but I try to get right with the Lord every Sunday before I start my hedonism. I like to get right with the Lord. So I go for a long walk and listen to gospel music, and then the gospel music will end, and I listen to R&B, typically Chris Brown, as I finish my walk, and then I take a super self-clean like shower bath. And it used to be before we were doing the shows on Sunday that I would make myself a little drink and then soak my feet and then give myself a manicure, a pedicure, give myself a pedicure. And then I would jump into the shower and I had all types of body scrubs. I mean, like the salt and sugar scrubs, I would bathe, I would like wash and then use the salt and sugar scrubs. And I would use a mask on my face and I would use a scrub on my face. And I would do a deep shave on my head and shape up my face and do a little something with my hands with the lotion, make sure my fingernails was good. Then I would come in here into my bedroom and then I would put some body cream on, you know what I'm saying, that smelled good. Didn't mean for that to go off, but put some body cream on that you smell good, spray a little bit of cologne on, you know what I'm saying? All while having myself a little drink. Then I would start to go prepare my breakfast. And my breakfast could be anything. It could be, you know, French toast and eggs and bacon and sausage, or I could order something, or it could be chicken wings and French fries, whatever it was that was going to be my favorite meal of the week. That's what I would do, and I would open up a bottle of champagne with Gatorade, sugar-free Gatorade, right? Gotta stay keto. Sugar-free Gatorade, and I would sit in front of the TV and watch whatever shows that were going on at that time. Since all my CW superhero shows are over with, if it wasn't a Power, then it'd be a Equalizer, or right now it's Reacher and the Daredevil, and I would just sit back, mellow, relax. And when Crypto was still here, he would sit on the couch with me, and we would chill. And when the weather was really nice, I would sit out on my balcony and put the TV out there, and we would sit out there drinking champagne, just enjoying TV, listen to the kids play in the courtyard, and listen to people enjoying themselves in the patio. And that was a good time for me. Guilty pleasure. And it's all gonna come back, right? I can only do some of it now, but that's part of my guilty pleasure. Matter of fact, it's not even a Sunday thing, actually. Saturday, if I don't have plans, I do the same thing. It's a I have the same routine on Saturdays as well on Sundays. Now that I can't have the full Sunday fun day, if I don't have anything planned on Saturday, damn well believe I'm gonna have a Saturday fun day as well. And just sometimes it's just me sitting in the house. Like last weekend, I had the greatest little Saturday and Sunday, just chilling. Well, I had something to do on Sunday, so it wasn't Sunday, but it was Saturday. I had something to do. Another one of my guilty pleasures. This, as you heard in the first segment, I said I was going to touch back on this later. This is what I was talking about, kettle chips. Remember I said I had the little switch that sometimes I could control, sometimes I could cut it off, but other times, like I don't have any control over it and it'll cut off when it's ready. I gained all the weight back that I had lost right before Thanksgiving when I got on the scale the other day. And the reason why is because I was eating a bag of kettle chips, the Harris Teeter $2.50 bag of kettle chips, the full bag, a day. A day. Addicted. First of all, I love chips. Okay, let's just put that out there. I love chips. You got a chip in the house that hasn't been touched by other human hands, I'm probably gonna try and eat that chip. Okay. I love kettle chips. I love ruffle chips. I don't love Pringles, but if that's the only thing available, I'll eat Pringles. I love chips. I love Cheetos. I love pretzels too. Pretzels are delicious to me. I love that stuff. It's a guilty pleasure. I love that food. Okay. Um, Playing video games. My brother and sister has pictures of me, different stages of my life, sitting in a chair, playing video games, the same position, same facial expression from like 8 all the way to like 25. I love video games. And I don't even love like a lot of video games that are popular, right? Never played Halo. Didn't like GTA, Grand Theft Auto, because I could never beat it. Played Grand Theft Auto. Well, I played Grand Theft Auto 3 and San Andreas, and that was pretty much it, right? I just like, the basketball games. It was used to be double dribble, then it became Lakers versus Celtics, and then Bulls versus Blazers, and then NBA Lives, and then NBA 2Ks, which I'm still playing. As soon as I finish recording this right now, I'm about to go play NBA 2K. I'm about to go play NBA 2K. Also, I used to be a huge fan of playing Madden, won Madden tournaments. I don't play Madden so much now, but they brought back college football. I was playing that religiously. And that's what I was doing on Sundays instead of going to church, but religiously. I love video games. They're relaxing to me, even though I've had many women that I date say, it doesn't seem relaxing that you yelling and screaming and cussing. My neighbors have to think that I have Tourette's just because of the way I'm acting when I play video games. But nope, it's very relaxing to me. I'm telling you, I love video games. The last guilty pleasure, y'all might have guessed, but I love superhero and savior shows. This is what I mean by that. Everybody knows my affection for Superman. Got a Superman tattoo. I got Superman clothing. I've got Superman pictures in my mom's garage that I'm just like, I'm too old to be having this in like the main area. If I ever buy a house and have a playroom, a man's room, all that stuff will go back in there because that's specifically there. But my place is like grown up now. I can't have Superman stuff all over the place. But I love superhero shows. Always have. I love comic books. I love people saving other people. Just do. And I love savior shows, people saving other people. It's the reason why I love The Equalizer. I love Reacher. Love Reacher. I want Reacher and The Equalizer. I want Alan Richardson and Queen Latifah to make a buddy cop movie where they essentially play the characters The Equalizer and Reacher, and they just recast them because I don't think Reacher and Equalizer can exist in the same world, but that they recast them and they just go around solving crimes all over the world and helping people. That would be like that. They could make 17 versions of that like they do Fast and Furious, and I go to movie theater every week to go see them. I just love savior shows. I love Olivia Benson. I think she's a real life superhero. Well, not real life because it's TV, but y'all know what I mean, right? Like she's a superhero. I love savior shows. So a lot of times on those Sunday fun days and those Saturday fun days, when I'm drinking my champagne and kicking it, having myself my brunch, because that's what it is. It's not breakfast, it's brunch because it's always late in the day. It's always around 1:30. I'm watching those shows. Something to make me feel good. Will I watch a documentary? Like, yeah, but later on in the day, I need to feel good and upbeat at the beginning of my Sunday fun days. And what's happening lately is my Saturday fun days as well. I need to feel good and upbeat. There's enough craziness in the world. There's enough evil and bad in the world. I don't need it on my TV screen when I'm trying to reset. Who wants that? And for y'all women out there that love watching these murder documentaries and murder mysteries when you go to bed, something is wrong with you. Psychiatrists have literally said psychopaths do that. I'm not saying all women are psychopaths, but you venturing towards that area, if you watching murder mysteries in bed before you go to bed at night, that is not relaxing. If murder and mayhem is what relaxes you before you go to bed, that's all I'm gonna say. But no, I like to just come down and unwind, and these are my guilty pleasures. But what are some of yours? Send it to me. DM me. Y'all might tell me about something that I didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? Another guilty pleasure that is extremely painful to me is ice cream, but I love ice cream. What am I supposed to do? Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. I love ice cream. I love cheese too. If I could eat a grilled cheese every day with some bacon in there, a bacon grilled cheese, man, you ain't said nothing but the word. Matter of fact, that's sounding pretty good right now. I could make me a bacon grilled cheese, but I digress. What are some of your guilty pleasures? I don't know. Hit me up. Let me know what some of your guilty pleasures are. You know, I might steal one. It might be good. And remember, a guilty pleasure is normal and healthy and can be a form of self-care and relaxation. You don't got to feel bad. I know it has guilty pleasure tied into it, but it's normal and it's healthy. And it's good for your self-care and your relaxation, which is important to your self-esteem. It all ties together. So more importantly, take care of yourself. And on that note, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll holla. Woo! That was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspective.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you really feel generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.